able to chat about any of our current strong women in society right now. You know, there's the Franca Bernadine and, well, the late Auntie Tech.
Yes.
I know we did mention her briefly. Mrs. Jacqueline Cornwall, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you be able to?
I interviewed a few of these women not too long ago. And for me, what was striking is that, again, for Grenada, we have so many strong women in our society, women that young girls can definitely look up to. Yeah, and most of the women that I interviewed were all associated with politics at some point in time, and for quite a number of them, politics was not something that they got up one morning and decided, okay, I'm going to get into. For a number of them, they kind of fell into it as time went by. The important point for all of them was recognizing that they were doing this for country, and there was nothing about self. Yes, it was, what can I do for the benefit of my country? All right, so that whether it was in education, whether it was in tourism, I can think of oh dear, her name is slipping me right now, Brenda Hood. Yes, into tourism. I remember my interview with her, and being the Minister for Tourism right after Ivan, and her saying what a difficult time it was to actually see Grenada again as a tourist destination at a time when it is so devastated, you know, and having interviews with the cruise ships to get them to return to Grenada, to tell them that everything is okay and we can, you know, get back on track, you know, things like that. And sometimes we don't recognize the kind of sacrifices that that these women make. One of the issues that came up from interviewing all of them was that we tend to sometimes think of women in politics as something that they get involved because there is a male connection. And that is such a myth, that they would have got to this position because of a male connection. And that is a serious myth that we need to basically just totally disregard. That they got in there again because of wanting to help, of wanting to assist. And at the end of the day, they are saying to the young people, the young women, that if you get into politics, always remember that you're working for the benefit of your society in general, and to do what's best for your society. And I think that they have, and they do, act as role models for our young women of today. Yes, they do, definitely.
They really do. I want to go back to your book for a second. What would you say is one of the most highlighted sections in this book for you?
Oh dear. It's kind of difficult to say.
You know, just a specific area or period of time or someone or something could have hit home, or, you know.
My two favorite chapters really would be chapter 2, which is slavery. I guess
that's the historian.
The historian in me. And having done slavery for so long. Chapter 2 on slavery and the last chapter on the revolution. Yes, those two I think hit home probably more than the rest. What was interesting for me was that we tend to, if you pick up any history book and you go to the period of slavery, we tend to see quite a number of slave men. Slaves were not necessarily highlighted, but if you did find a highlight, it would be a man. This basically says that there were women and they played a pivotal role in the production of sugar. They were asked to do two roles. They had a dual role. They were supposed to produce sugar on the estates, because anywhere from 1780 onwards, there were more women working in the field than there were men, actually. And that's not just for Grenada, but for the rest of the region. So they're expected to produce, but they're also expected to reproduce.
There you go.
But they're expected to do that at the same time with the fact that the work regime is very rigorous, the diet is poor, sanitation is horrible, there are very few medical medical facilities available at the time. Yet they're expected to do all of this, and they actually were able to do it.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing.
Yeah.
And then you look at, we relax nowadays, and we think of pregnancy, and you think of, okay, I just run down to the hospital and everything is fine and there's modern equipment. Oh dear. You think 200 years ago, trying to give birth, and many of these women died in pregnancy because, of course, they didn't have the facilities of the time. There was one story, I think, that hit home, and I was kind of hoping they were related to me because the surname is Phillip. But this particular woman, her name is Jeanette, and she was a free black woman, and she was married to this gentleman called Ray Phillip. And when he died, he left her with all of his possessions. Wow. And when I say all, I mean estates in Grenada, estates in Carriacou, and the entire island of Petit Martinique. Wow. Yes, that's why I was hoping there was a family relation. I'm hoping, I'm just hoping I would find something. And it's quite a fascinating story because she had 9 children, and of these 9 children, one of them joins Fedon in the rebellion. Unfortunately, he was killed. His name was Joachim, and then one of her sons migrated to Trinidad, and he actually becomes. There's a book written by him called The Free Mulatto. He writes about the conditions in Trinidad as a free colored person moving to Trinidad and the sort of discrimination he would have received. And one of her great grandchildren becomes mayor of Port of Spain. So it's quite an interesting, quite an interesting, quite an interesting family, you know. So I'm still hoping there's a connection.
Do some investigating,
yes,
you never know.
I think I need to
track those lines that connect to those trees and the branches and everything.
Just never know, they might be. Yeah.
Wow.
Quite a
Dr. Phillip, it's always an honor to have you here. You know, you've just restored. Can I borrow one of these?
Yes.
I have to return it to you, right?
Yes.
Okay, but I can borrow it.
Yes, you can borrow.
Yeah, because now I'm more deeply intrigued than ever. And I could tell the cameraman is laughing at me. Look at her begging for the book on set. But thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate this. And I certainly hope that it's stirred up some consciousness and awareness to our viewers regarding women in Canadian history. Where can folks find this book to purchase?
It's at Art and Soul in Grand Anse, and it's at Teachers School Supplies in St. George's. And recently I found out that Shipwreck also has copies of it. So there are 3 places that you can find it.
It's on Amazon, I believe.
It's on Amazon, it's on Barnes & Nobles.
Excellent.
Yes.
I gotta have you back here, you know. We have to do a special.
Sure.
But I gotta cook up the right thing for us to talk about. Clearly it will be about history.
Of course.
But I think it would be a wonderful thing to have you back where we can really dig deep into our roots and find out some more. Would you be able to speak on the Caribs and stuff as well?
Yes.
I need to know more about my my ancestors as well. Thank you so very much.
You
Always
are
a pleasure.
very welcome.
Folks, I've been chatting with Dr. Nicole Phillip. Of course, don't forget you can purchase a copy of your very own, available at newsstands, bookstores, Art and Soul, Shipwreck, and also
Teachers School Supply.
Teachers School Supply. Learn some more about our past today.